Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a while since I've done an update video on the Mustang. So I thought I would go over the track times that I've gotten, the modifications I've done since the track, and just in general where we're at. So first off, probably the more interesting part, I'll show you this shock or strut extensions, travel extenders, whatever you want to call it. So obviously multiple ways you can do this. Ideally, the best way to do it would be to go with a longer travel strut. If you're on a budget like I am, I did something like this here. It's about 1.5 inches or so, maybe 2 inches. I can't remember. I got these at Ace True Value. They were only a couple bucks a piece. Obviously, the other side has one as well. It's just a lot harder to see. And on top of that, I was having an issue where the springs would stop pushing long before the strut was fully expanded. So I went to a softer spring, but also a longer spring. So before I was running a 14 inch spring with 150 pounds. This is obviously a 16 inch spring and 100 pounds. So much softer, but pushes a lot longer because it extends further. And then combined with this spacer, the suspension or the front tires will drop pretty far from actual ride height. I also didn't like that the car sat super low. It looks good as it sits, but obviously performance is a little more the goal. So actually, and now I see it looks better, I think, at this ride height than it did before. But before it was tucked up where you couldn't even really get your fingers in here. Things sat so low, so it would cause it to drag going into the trailer a little bit. Not too bad, still pretty low, but at least I'm not dragging on the ground. That's pretty much the updates. I did go to the track last year right before it got cold. I did move across the country, so that took up a lot of time, which is why I haven't been making videos or doing anything really with the car. But last time I went to the track, or the only time I went to the track, however you want to word it, I was pretty happy with it. The car went 10 flat at 135 miles an hour. For a build like this, you might be thinking that's horrible. Why did it only run 10 flat? Well, that's because I was babying it. It was really the first chance to go down the track with tires that weren't 14 years old. Yes, I did actually try to make a couple passes when I still lived in Vegas on tires that were 14 years old. It went about as well as you can imagine. So when I got out here, I decided to baby it. I ended up, I think it made, if I remember correctly, 3.5 pounds of boost on the trans brake with only a 3,400 RPM launch speed. And then I had it over the next couple of seconds after launch ramp up to a total of 6.5 pounds of boost. And that's what it carried down the track. And I was shifting at about 6,200 RPM. The engine still pulls at 7,000. So obviously I was short shifting it. But even still, 6.5 total pounds of boost and a nice gentle little launch. And the car went 10.08 to be specific at 135 miles an hour. Straight as an arrow, no issues whatsoever. I do look forward to getting back to the track, and I would admit, I'm still going to baby it. I'm not going to lie. I'll probably bump up the launch speed a couple hundred RPM, maybe 150 just for the first pass off the trailer, and I would like to see about what it does on 9 pounds of boost. I really think a mid to low 9 on that boost level would be pretty successful, because in the end the car has an 8.5 second cage in it. So if I could get to 8.5 on incredibly low boost, that would be fantastic. Because in the end, although I do trailer it to the track, I can drive it every day on the street if I really wanted to. I don't want to, but I can. But then just to touch bases again with this, this is how I went, since obviously my front is probably a little bit different than what the average person's going to have. Obviously you're not going to have your shock tower completely gone and it's just tied into the cage. You could always put a nut on there, use a shorter spacer with a nut, weld the two together. That way you can compress the spring before you try to put it in. Because I'll tell you, This side's not that bad. This side, because the spring perch is a little bit higher to get the car to sit level, just because there's, you know, obviously the engine sits a little more to the passenger side. That's how the motor mounts are set up. So there's a little more weight on this side of the car. Not to mention, you know, got a little bit of plumbing on this side, the intercooler's on this side. So anyways, that side is less than fun to put in without any type of spring compressor. Whereas this one, it's a lot easier. So if you're going to attempt to do something like this, you might consider putting a shorter spacer in there if you don't want to deal with a spring compressor, or possibly a shorter spacer with a nut on it so that you can compress the spring outside of the vehicle before attempting to put it in. That would be my advice, just to make your life easier when you're actually going to install it. I'm not going to pull the jack out to show you how far it droops out, but if I remember correctly from when I was doing the testing, the you know, the top of the tire here will come up to right around this neighborhood when it's fully drooped out. So you can see that's quite a big of a drop, quite a big drop. So good weight transfer. Like I said, I did this modification over the winter, so haven't had a whole lot of time to test it. I got to drive the car once with it like this. Seemed to hook up pretty good, just cruising around hammering it. But from a dead stop, we'll either gonna need better weather, or, well, yeah, better weather on the track or on the street, either way. But right now, I mean, it's all wet. Obviously still not going out there to do any testing. It seems like every time I have a day off of work, it rains. So not making a ton of progress with testing at this moment. But anyways, if you guys have any questions, obviously feel free to ask. I'll do my best to answer whatever questions you have. Sorry it took so long to get another video out or to make any progress on this thing, but life happened. You know how that goes. Anyways, like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate it. Have a good one.